Okay, we now see in second session. Are you good to class? Okay, let us take some example about smoking regulations. Let us get you to the public website, Gwangju Metropolitan Council, and the website has provide in scope of information, introduction of local assembly, and what is that, and chairperson of assembly, and what the assemblyman incumbent, and also the what a some former chairpersons and also former assemblymen. And of course the public website also had the scope of information and legal information especially, and we have same nature of a FOIA, the act to mandate the public disclosure of a government information. Public access is now very easy. You see in the web page, and of course we have ethical code, which I now suppose some of embedded practice of the public organizations, and the statutory act also could be located as in your search. In this case, we see some local laws, and as you know, the Local Administration Act now standing to govern comprehensively the issues and the paradigm of local government. So grassroots democracy, the kind of ideal we now long pursued, have been crystallized in that act, and from that backdrop, the consequence is that we have the scope of actually important ordinances which actually affect our routine days of life. So let us see, and you'll see the search engine from internet provider, and we have also the search tools. We consider the key terms to be typed in this box. So I typed this keyword will locate some of ordinances we're now interested in. So actually the legislative objective was announced in the article 4th. You will see some distinct ways of approach in the US case. They would have some preambles about their findings. So as you later see, the many authorities, which is scientific, would be in what kind of assumption which they advance to enact type of ordinances. That is not the case as you see in Korea. So we have in the first phrase the lesser objective. So how do you see the ways of comprehension about the issues and disputes? So do you see any taste between inductive and deductive reasoning? So we see first in the objective and principle, and often it is shared to have a second clause, what titled definitions. So what is smoking in terms of this ordinance? The use of the word would actually control in understanding and command and interpretation of other clauses. So important, and that you see what a smoking and what is this a passive smoking, and of course you will see a same context of concern. A passive smoking and innocent victims are one important interest party that the policy makers would like to address. So kind of question. And smoking prohibited where? Prohibited area the central element you expect, of course, in this type of this concern of regulation, and also permissible area. And you'll see the responsibility of mayor. In other cases, especially in the United States, the Board of County Commissioner would have a principal responsibility to deal with kind of questions on public health or smoking and others. So you will see later. And the kind of independent agency is often required to ensure some conscious and science-based decision. So the kind of structural concern, so would be one issue you will discuss in the administrable and public policy general context of this. And also the right of citizens. So recall the kind of a new concept of human rights, second generations and fourth generations. So we now recognize the kind of enhanced concept, a right to pleasant environment, right to decent housing, and right to at least public education. Kind of human rights requires the affirmative action of government. So we often say it as a positive liberty. So the traditional notion about liberty and constitutional freedom is negative. So the intervention or regulation would be able to combat. In this modern administrative state, the government is responsible to promote affirmatively the basic human rights. And the point is on Article 5, I consider some extended scope of smoking regulation. So what is urban park, urban area park, and school sanitary precinct in what what as pertains to the School Health Act. So according to the act, some area was designated in this title, and the area is regulated against non-smoking, and also bus stop and taxi station was included, and gas station is also one policy item. And what other in your concern? Any public street is actually is quite important when we seriously consider the strengths and weaknesses of this ordinance. Public street is open to the pedestrians, the walking, and the stream is ensured in what actually the purpose of local administration. And also most notable praise about personal liberty. So it is sensitive whether to regulate this open area, but praised in one element about this statutory ambit. And also catch-all clause has been included. So the smoking regulations is falls within the plenary discretion. So entirely depends on the decision of mayor. So at the pleasure of mayor, the non-smoking area could be announced to have an effect in terms of this ordinance. And the ways to designate non-smoking area has been prescribed in Article 6, and also several articles. The question is the extent of regulation, how much it is rigorous to infringe with the personal liberty, and how do we reconcile the public interest with a personal liberty. The kind of question is debated, perhaps. In other aspect, more importantly, I suppose, is that the compliance of this ordinance is not quite straightforward. That is partly because some personnel and resources would be required and drawn on a paid basis, for example. So how do we bear the kind of increased expense to ensure a compliance of this ordinance? And of course, fines and other administrative sanctions have been stipulated in Article 10. So what a some Korean dollars, 100,000 Korean dollars, 100,000, and also some delegation could be in ground as a matter of this ordinance. So lower ranks of officer would exercise their authority as pertains to this provision. and the mode of deals would be similar, and the concept of e-government has actually bears the same consequence across two countries. I now see some US case, and my tip in terms of legal research of local law is about a Mooney Code. The website is notable and very useful for the explorers to trace the ordinance of their locality. So state listing, cannabis, and we now see the map of the United States, and Washington State is located in the upper most of a western part. So WA, and many counties are listed as available in region. So what is that? Franklin County is my destination in this class purpose. Let us see. So interestingly, we have missed some of legislative record, kind of bills in progress or others involving state government. However, it is surprising to see the listing of code of ordinances which are not in codification. So mere adoption would feature in this structure of public website. So considered to be very active beyond the extent of state legal materials. So very updated. So we have quite useful aid in reference with this public website. So ordinance number, and you will see the subject matters relating a code of ordinances, and perhaps same in portion, and what is special as pertains to the local government. For example, animals, public peace, morals, and welfare would be distinct, I suppose. So light penalty or petty crimes would be dealt and regulated. So same context of a problem might arise in Republic of Korea. That's the story. So the constitutional scholars has been apprehended as much with the statute titled a community crime, the kind of noise generation, or spitting, or the chewing gums, or what kind of actually smoking is one interesting policy item. So the act was once questioned, and it is quite quite deep to intervene the personal, so right of privacy would arise in some cases. How do you consider the hippie appearance that could not survive the regulatory measure in their statute. So we see a kind of constitutional evil since it provokes our liberty conscience on liberty concept and others. And also vehicles and traffic are popular agenda necessitating due regulation in code and ordinances. And streets, sidewalks, and public places. And also health and safety. So our topic is related with health and safety. So let us see. And fireworks, hazardous waste, human remains. So, what are some delicacies found? We should not pillory the kind of human dignity, since some fairly close interconnectedness when we advance on this dimension. So ordinance is typically involved with the kind of directness, like a little control, noise control, open burning. So the concept is actually promoting, and the general welfare would be presumed as a matter of science, and we, in our modern awareness about public health and safety, so open burning would be responsive against so the kind of concept is prevention. The prevention or deterrence may be central in criminal justice system. You will see later in gun shooting, and also other concept about environment health would now in prompts involving kind of concept precautionary measures. What does it mean, precautionary measure? So the International Covenant on Environment is now quite emerging. So the area of area is now a popular subject which stirs the international attention. So precautionary measure generally requires the authority to be preemptive, notwithstanding any determinative scientific findings. So, well, proximateness, the kind of concept, and most plausible would be adequate to address the kind of scene, precautionary measure. So we generally have long been suspicious about any extreme measures about to promote health and safety is truly based on scientific finding. Just a cause, a proximate cause, and also could matter in the civil structure of civil assault. So a shift of burden could be more adequate in terms of justice. So the elements required to be proven or direct in prima facie context of evidence would be modified in some cases. So the defendant need to prove that he offered no cause or to damage or loss or harms that now the plaintiff alleged to basis tort claims. Kind of concept. So now climate change and you see, for example, the United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea. The convention has been considered to shift the basic paradigm about sovereignty on seas and many a new concept. What is exclusive economic zone, or what is a sea shelves or others. So new sea geographical terms involving sea area have been incorporated into new ways of governance in the sea law. Nonetheless, it is still important involving the environmental concern. So the Sea Convention has included many of the provisions, the nature quality of which is environmental. So we see some provision about damages from environmental pollution or so environmental harms would be regulated in terms of international damages. Liability of a nation is captured extensively involving environment. So the precautionary measure would be kind of useful concept to penetrate both area of a updated concern, health and preservation of environment. And also you will see other international treaty or resolution we call what is the concept? Sustainable development. So the area is a new frontier. You see, the modern administrator should exploit and also be responsible to address the policy challenges and policy needs. And let us get into smoking area, smoking section. And we find a four section actually, and the findings, definitions, smoking prohibited way, and compliance. As I have stated earlier, the ordinance begins with some of legislative findings. Authoritative experts, including the U.S. Surgeon General and the National Academy of Sciences, have concluded that non-smokers may incur considerable health risk from the inhalation of a cigarette smoke. According to National Academy of Sciences, public policy should clearly articulate that involuntary exposure to tobacco smoke has adverse health effects and ought to be minimized or avoided wherever possible. Actually, the advice of scientific community is quite controlling in a measure of this kind. So the focus would also be highlighted in side stream smoke, passive smoking, and ammonia, formaldehyde, alcohol, toxic gases, and carbon monoxide, very terms of medicine would appear. And let us see, side stream smoke, it produced 94% of total smoking time. So the industry victims is one of our concern. Passive smoking and a broad variety of health problems, some of which may be disabling. So the effect would be fatal. The ability to manage normal lives will be breached. For employees with pre-existing health conditions, past smoking can critically impair their ability to work. Recent court decisions have held employers responsible to employees to provide smoke-free work environments or be held liable for documented discomfort, pain, and illness caused to the employee by smoke in the workplace. So the public officer has some sensitive stance for the court opinion and others. So one hint you will find in this way of dealings. So the employers with previous health conditions would be particular in impact. The impact of past smoking would be serious in this case, might aggravate the existing disease or others. The pace of disease would be accelerated towards conditions. Smoking can be more easily tolerated in a healthy person, but that is not the case. Additional scientific studies regarding comprehensive health problems, blah blah blah. So the advice and information from the scientific community, and also the rules from the higher authority, state code or federal code, would provide a backdrop to create this ordinance. And also we have sections on definition, common areas, enclosed work area, smoking. So we once have some discussion about supervision from the judicial authority. So the kind of respect and alert would be due for more competent public officer. Common area means the area enclosed by a roof and walls in facilities which are owned, leased, or rented by county, including but not limited to employee lounges, lunchrooms, stairways, elevators, and restrooms. Enclosed work area means that area closed the roof and wall. Smoking means and includes inhaling, exhaling, or carrying any burning tobacco or other plant matter, including but not limited to cigarettes, cigars, or pipes. So you can note the regulated area is generally closed. And smoking prohibited everywhere. And what is the result of this ordinance? Perhaps suspension or dismissal would be any kind of remedy to address the smokers. However, that could not be rendered in any unregulated way also. So repeated violation would be one element. And also you'll see some exceptions. Should members of collective bargaining unit determine that the smoking ordinance creates a situation which impacts peculiar to their particular bargaining unit, and blah blah blah, an exception request may be submitted to the county's board of county commissioners. So ultimate responsibility would be on board of county commissioners, and exception request may be submitted. And actually the context is limited to the employment relationships, and especially involving county government. So the regulatory ambit is quite moderate, small in extent in comparison with the Korean case, Gwangju. So a closed area, but the regulators would not be restricted to the officers or employees of government. In some cases, contractors or visitors during all hours and all days of the year would be subject to be amenable of this regulation. So they should respect this regulation when they make a presence in the kind of areas as defined in section of definition. Of course, the government may launch many of a public contract or public project or public programs, and collaboration and partnership is quite routine way to address the policy needs in the United States. We will consider gun shooting in public high school, and in that case the partnership is also one very effective alternative, perhaps most basically between the federal and state government or local government. The contractors would also be useful in some option, and also you'll see on neighborly business, kindergarten and many others. Korean government also utilized the public contract to pursue welfare state. So working mom could be saved from that program. Might have a benefit, a social welfare benefit, as an alternative or direct transfer funds. That is my short demonstration about to provoke your interest involving local ordinances. So please exercise every moment to be concerned of local ordinance in preparation of your legal research, I suppose. Okay, we'll see in the last section of this class shortly. Thank you for your attention.